What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley. For those who are new here, hello and welcome. And for all of my returning subscribers, hey. So today I wanted to discuss the garden year in review. So today I wanted to review this year's garden. Last year I did a review video and I think it was really helpful for me to put it in video form. That way I can go back and look at some stuff, but I also have everything written out as well. So I did the same little format and I just got done reading over some of my notes from last year. And I must say, for the most part, I'm pretty proud with the progress that I made. However, some things were just not in my control to, you know, help or do any better. So first thing, let's just talk about what my goals were for this year's garden season based off of the notes that I made from last year. So the one thing that I said, or one of the things that I said that I wanted to do more of, was grow more herbs in my green stalks, which I did do that this year, in addition to adding in strawberries as well. And I will say I was extremely pleased with the look of the green stalks all season long. Not only did we pack those out with tons and tons of herbs, but I also popped in some rainbow chard, or Swiss chard, which I honestly didn't think that it was going to thrive as much as it did, but she showed out. And I legit just pulled out, I keep on looking at them out of my window because they still just look absolutely stunning. But I just pulled out the Swiss chard from way earlier spring, which, if you guys have not gotten into Swiss chard, if that is not a crop that you thought that you were interested in before, it is such a forgiving crop. First of all, you can plant it out really early. It doesn't mind a little bit of a frost. As long as it's not like a hard frost, it does all right for early spring. But then, like I mentioned, it has lasted all throughout the heat of the summer, going into fall, and now that we have touched a frost many times at this point here in Central Ohio, Zone 6A, for those who reference zones. She's a powerhouse of a crop. So baby, give Swiss chard a try, because I am impressed. And I will definitely, in the spots that like maybe have, like, you know, pewtered out over time or whatever, I will be adding more Swiss chard into my green stalks also for the upcoming year. So that was one thing there. I wanted to create a grounding space, something that my eye can rest on when I'm looking out in my garden, even as everything is like beginning to die back or beginning to like be in transition from one season to another. I wanted to have that anchor, and between the herbs and now the addition of the strawberries, I'm guaranteed to always have like a nice structural aspect there. The second thing was that I wanted to have a lot more flowers in the garden. I wanted to have a little bit more of a design element. And while everything didn't work out in my favor, like I wanted the trellis to be like crawling with all kinds of like moonflowers and all of that, that didn't end up working out. But I did end up putting some tomatoes on there, so it still gave me a little something, you know what I mean? But back to the flowers. I put flowers everywhere. I put them all in the front, what I consider the front of my garden. So in the terracotta pots, I have been doing like seasonal interest. So early spring, we had bulbs in there, which actually those were on my front porch at first, but then I moved them back here because I'm like, you know what, that would be nice to like, you know, keep back here, because I'm actually putting bulbs in my front landscape, so I don't have to worry about having them up on my porch anymore. But yeah, I have tulips in there for the spring. late spring, early summer, I flipped it over to putting straw flower. Yeah, I had straw flowers, and what else did I have in there? I need to look at my photos. Hold up now. Yeah, I really need to prioritize getting a new memory card. Anyways, so yeah, I had some straw flower and some petunias in that potted situation. So yeah, overall, just like the flowers were busting everywhere, child, and I was really happy with it. The next thing that I definitely wanted to do better with was my watering system, which I did the drip tape all throughout the garden. I need to reassess that because I don't know if it was the quality of the drip tape or if it's because I need to do one side of the garden first and then the other side. I just ended up hand watering everything all summer long, which was totally fine. But let's get into the varieties and some of the other highlights for the year, and then we'll get into some things that I want to do better for next year. So starting with my favorite varieties, starting off with tomatoes, the Sun Gold cherry tomato was just like producing above and beyond, and they are absolutely delicious to eat raw or to add into salads, or in my case here coming up, I'm going to be making a jam, and so it just creates like a different array of colors within, like, you know, some of your normal red cherry tomatoes. But it's just a beautiful and super prolific cherry tomato. The second tomato variety was the mushroom basket, which I actually got those seeds from Queenie's Garden Seeds. So good, very prolific. It was one of my most prolific slicer tomatoes, and I feel like each year my slicer tomatoes like kind of fluctuate. The one thing that I will say overall with my tomatoes, they did extremely well being up on the trellising walls with the cattle panels, which I highly recommend. Even within a small space, if you are able to fit in some cattle panels for your tomatoes, baby, it was a complete game changer. I felt like it was able to be pollinated correctly between like being wind pollinated, and then it just welcomed in a lot more air and space for the pollinators to be able to move throughout my garden. I absolutely enjoyed that setup overall, and because of that, I feel like my slicers did really, really well this year. But flavor wise, the mushroom basket was beautiful, and then it was also the peach looking variety, which I'll put that up on the screen because I can't exactly remember what it's called, but it's a seed that I've had for a while. And when I made the roasted salsa, we added those up in there, and they were just so meaty. Like, there were so few seeds in that tomato, and then the flavor was on point. I mean, chef's kiss. The peach tomato was probably my all-time favorite tomato that I've ever grown because of how much like meatiness was in it. The flavor was great. It was a beautiful tomato. It was also prolific. It was a little bit more choked out because it somehow, some way, it accidentally got planted over with the cherry tomatoes, and cherry tomatoes, like, I don't typically prune them, but an amazing tomato to grow. Next up, the flowers that I grew. The dahlias, hands down, are always stunners, but then the straw flowers really show the F off. Like, another one that I put in fairly early into the garden, and once they started blooming, at this point they just really started to not bloom anymore. Even as some of them still stand out there, they do have a little bit of frost damage, but I see where they're steady like creating little buds to bloom, and I'm just like, hun, are you done or no? Like, clearly not. So the straw flowers I will definitely continue to grow in future gardens. And then also, I feel like this year my red cabbages, they did above and beyond. I typically have a harder time with cabbages, and for some reason I've never actually grown a red cabbage to maturity. This was my first year, but I would definitely be doing more of those for next year's garden. I will say that I don't always do the greatest with starting my cabbages from seed, so honestly, I feel like for next year, I'm just going to plan to pick up starts from the nursery. That way I don't even have to fuss with it, because every year for the past 2 years, like, I'll get them going, they'll be going strong, and then for whatever reason they just end up fizzling out. So I'm excited to get some more red cabbage going for next year. It will definitely be one of the first things that I put in. They were just so dense, heavy. The pest practically stayed away from them. That was the one thing with my green cabbages, were that they kept on getting nibbled on by pests. But with the red cabbages, no issues there at all. So that will be another thing that I will try to grow more of for next year. And then lastly, which I feel like I haven't really shared just a whole lot about this specific variety or crop, but the black eyed peas and the pink hull cow peas, y'all, like, why didn't anybody tell me just how fun it is to grow those beans? Like, first of all, they grow so fast, but then very prolific. I only put 3 of each plant in my garden, and for my space, honestly, I probably should have put a lot more in, and I'll definitely need a lot more to actually produce enough bean pods to like create a whole meal. But I want to just show you guys, like, it's so gratifying. So with just 3 of each of these plants, and I just went on ahead and combined them together because I can always do like a 3-bean soup situation. But I want to say this is about a cup of beans. Like, what? You guys, in my little small space, this many beans from 6 plants that like took little to nothing to like really do other than allow for them to grow, allow for them to dry out, pull them inside, shell them, and boom, you've got dried beans. Like, I want to grow more of these. Like, I'm going to figure out somehow, some way, I'm going to talk my husband into expanding my garden more, and I want to grow a whole row of these because we love beans in my house. I definitely love black eyed peas, but like just any sort of bean is my jam. So this was just such a gratifying plant to grow. So if you have not grown black eyed peas, I found that the black eyed peas that I had, they were vining. I didn't know that at the time, so definitely read your seed packets. But even the pink hull, or I forget what it's called, I'm gonna put it on the screen, even that was a bush bean variety, very fast to grow, little to no maintenance, and she served, hun, everything. So those were all the varieties that were some of my favorites. And then of course, like any other garden year, we have the negatives. So those were our favorites. These are the things that I didn't do so great with for various reasons. Starting off with my pepper production. So this year, where I put my peppers is where I would normally put my peppers. However, I put them in way more dense than I normally do. And I think that really hindered the flow of how the pollinators can come through and do their thing. So actually, I put peppers in my bed, but then I also put some peppers in a grow bag. And those peppers, if you guys can remember, those guys were like way behind in growth, but they overseeded as far, like they went above and beyond their call of duty, because I honestly just stuck them in the bag like, all right, I don't know where else to put you, I'm gonna just put y'all in here. But they killed it, and they literally they lasted all the way up until the frost. And honestly, I have one or two more peppers out there that I can still harvest. But overall my peppers did not do that great, only because I put them in so thick. So for next year, I'm thinking I want to buy more grow bags, and I'm going to do like the smaller ones to maybe put 2 or 3 pepper plants in each pot. That way I can space those out and I can kind of spread them out among my garden rather than taking up in bed space to like keep other things in. Annie, my dog thumping in the back. So that was the first con. The second one, we had no squash this year. We planted summer squash, we planted winter squash, both butternut and spaghetti, and yeah, all of them, nothing produced. I don't know. I don't believe that I had squash bugs. Maybe I did. Maybe I had squash vine borers. I don't know. But as I said, I got nothing. And so for next year, I definitely want to have squash. So I need to do better as far as my pest control. This year, I did not do a lot of pest control only because my daughter is at the age where she sees me harvesting things. And so she also wants to harvest, and she'll eat it right there in the garden, which made me a little hesitant to use like even like some BT spray or even like, what's it called? Diatomaceous earth. Any of it. I did not use too much of anything in my garden this year. So next year there'll be a little bit more of an education for my daughter, for her to understand what she can eat and what she can't eat, and then I'll be able to control the pests a little bit better. And I pray that we'll have a better squash year next year, which leads us into the next thing, which was cucumbers. Cucumbers also did really poorly. They actually finally got like a jump start, but the freaking beetles wiped them out every single time. The little cucumber beetles, the little yellow, sweet little things that look just so cute, they will decimate, they will ruin your cucumber plants. And that's what happened every single time. I only harvested maybe 3 or 4 cucumber this year, which it sucks because I ended up having to buy cucumbers from the store to make pickles, but all was fine. So next year, again, more on the pest control. Hopefully I'll be able to get that thing under control so I can actually, you know, get some fruits from my labor. And then also in that corner bed back there, I recently showed you how I had a lot of roots in there. Next year I do plan in the early spring to till all of that up to hopefully get all those roots out, sift it all through. Hopefully I'll be able to use that bed again, but I'm really thinking, because I'm really close to like where our fence line is and we have a lot of trees in the back, I think all of those roots are getting in that bed. Hopefully the tilling will help, and that'll also give me an opportunity to like really put a lot of good nutrients in that area back there, because I do feel like it's just a little depleted. But yeah, that's another thing that was a con. Next, my beans and the okra. I'm gonna bulk these two together because they were in the same exact bed as well. I don't know if that soil was depleted. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the pest, but okra was extremely stunted, even though I did harvest like all in all maybe about 10 pods of okra. So I definitely want to get an earlier start on both my okra and my beans. And as for my beans, again, pest protection. We have beetles that come along and like decimate things, and I just need to up the ante on my pest control. I try to keep things organic. I don't like to use like any 7 dust or anything like that, but just some diatomaceous earth, just so those little hard shelled things can get gone, they can die. But yeah, so the okra, the beans, hopefully with an earlier start and some pest control, I'll do a lot better for next year. So at this point of the video, what I would love for you guys to do is to tell me what you all would want to see on my channel as far as gardening is concerned. I share a lot, or I shared a lot more this year in my kitchen than I have in previous years, and I really did love that because one of my passions is cooking. I love to cook for my family. I love food. I'm a Taurus, so if you know, you know. Earth sign, gang gang, what's good? But I would love to hear from you all what you would like to see, what I can share with you guys. I've recently been doing more things as far as like herbalism is concerned, so if you would like to see more of that, definitely let me know down in the comment section below. But this here wraps up our 2023 garden season review. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Let me know what some of your fails and wins were in your garden as well, and until the next time, I wish you all health, wealth, and prosperity. Peace.